You were busy all day. Not lazy, not idle, busy. You checked your phone, watched things, replied to messages, switched between tasks. At some point, it even felt productive, like you were getting things done. But if someone asked you right now, what actually moved forward today? You wouldn't have a clear answer. And that's the problem because your brain doesn't track progress. It tracks completion. It doesn't care if something matters. It only cares that something ended. So every time you finish a video, close an app, reply to a message, your brain logs it as done, as progress, even when nothing in your real life changed. That's why you can spend hours doing things and still feel stuck in the same place. You're not wasting time. You're filling it with things that end but don't lead anywhere. And the more you repeat that pattern, the harder it becomes to tell the difference between being busy and actually moving forward. Here's where it gets confusing. Because on the surface, your day looks full. You responded to people, you consumed information, you moved between different tasks. So naturally, it feels like something was accomplished. But there's a hidden difference most people never notice. Not all completed actions create progress. Some actions simply end. Others actually build. Watching something ends, replying ends, scrolling ends. They give you closure, but not direction. Progress, on the other hand, doesn't just end, it carries forward. It leaves something behind. A finished piece of work, a skill slightly improved, a step that makes the next step easier. That's the difference. One type of action closes a loop, the other moves a line forward. And most of your day is filled with closed loops. Small things that start and finish quickly, without connecting to anything bigger. So your brain stays active, your time stays occupied, but nothing compounds, nothing stacks, nothing builds into something meaningful over time. And because these small loops feel complete, your brain accepts them as enough. It stops pushing you toward deeper work, work that feels slower, but actually creates movement. So you end the day with a strange feeling. You did a lot, but nothing feels real because real progress doesn't come from finishing more things. It comes from finishing the right things that actually lead somewhere. Now look closer at how your day actually plays out. You don't just do things. You break your attention over and over again. You start something, then leave it halfway, open something else, then switch again. And each time you switch, something important happens. You lose the thread of what you were doing. Not just the task, but the thinking behind it, the deeper layer. Because focus isn't just about time, it's about continuity. The longer you stay with something, the clearer it becomes, the easier it gets, but you rarely reach that point because before your mind settles, you interrupt it. And every interruption comes with a hidden cost. You don't continue where you left off, you restart. Your brain has to rebuild context, reconnect ideas, find its place again. So even if you spend an hour working, most of that time is spent getting back into something you already started. That's why it feels exhausting. Not because the work is too hard, but because you never stay long enough for it to become easier. This creates a loop most people don't notice. You start, you switch, you restart. You feel drained, you escape. And over time, your brain adapts to this rhythm. Short bursts, quick exits, constant movement, anything that requires sustained attention starts to feel unnatural, even uncomfortable. So you begin to avoid it, not intentionally, but automatically. You move toward things that don't demand depth, things you can enter and leave instantly. And slowly, without realizing it, you train yourself to live on the surface, always active, always switching, but never staying long enough to create something that actually lasts. This isn't just a habit. It's a system your brain has learned to depend on because your brain doesn't measure value the way you think it does. It doesn't ask, will this matter in a week? It asks, can I finish this quickly? That's the difference. Your brain is constantly trying to reduce effort while still feeling like it achieved something. So it prefers actions that are easy to start, easy to complete, and give a clear ending. That's why small tasks feel so satisfying. Not because they're important, but because they end cleanly. They give your brain a signal it understands. Done. And that signal matters more than progress. Because progress is slow, messy, incomplete for long periods of time. When you're working on something meaningful, there's no immediate finish. No clear closure, just a long stretch where nothing feels complete, and your brain struggles with that because it can't track progress easily, so it defaults to what it can track, completion. That's why you're drawn to things you can finish quickly, even if they don't matter, even if they don't move your life forward. There's another layer to this. Every time you switch tasks, your brain gets a small sense of reset, a fresh start, And fresh starts feel easier than continuation because continuing requires effort, but restarting feels light. So instead of building momentum, you keep chasing resets. And over time, your brain begins to prefer restarting over actually finishing anything. That's the pattern, not laziness, not lack of discipline, but a system that values closure more than progress. At first, this pattern feels harmless. You're still doing things, you're still active, your day feels full, so nothing seems wrong. But the real cost doesn't show up immediately, it builds slowly in the background. Because progress isn't just about effort, it's about continuity, the ability to stay with something long enough for it to turn into something real. And when that continuity is missing, nothing compounds. You don't build skill, you don't build momentum, you don't build results. Everything resets before it has a chance to grow. So your days feel busy, but your weeks look the same, your months look the same, and eventually your life looks the same. That's the real danger. Not that you're doing nothing, but that nothing you do is stacking. There's another cost most people don't notice. When you keep starting and stopping, you stop trusting your own effort. You begin to associate work with interruption, focus with discomfort, and progress with frustration. So even when you try to change, there's resistance because your brain expects you to quit. And the more often you repeat that cycle, the more it becomes your identity. Someone who starts but doesn't finish. And once that belief sets in, it becomes harder to break than the habit itself. Because now, it's not just your actions working against you, it's how you see yourself. If this pattern is built on what you finish, then the solution isn't to do more, it's to change what your brain counts as a win. Right now, your brain rewards anything that ends. A finished video, a cleared notification, a quick reply. All of it feels like progress. So the first shift is this: stop giving yourself credit for things that don't carry forward. Because progress isn't about what you complete, it's about what continues after you stop. That's a different standard. A real task doesn't just end, it leaves something behind, something you can return to, something that grows when you come back to it. So define your work like this: if it disappears after you do it, it didn't count. Now, here's the second shift. This is where it gets uncomfortable. Delay your exit. Right now, you leave tasks the moment they feel slow. Instead, stay 2 minutes longer than your urge to leave. Not an hour, not extreme discipline. Just 2 minutes past the point where your mind says, switch. Because that moment, that's where shallow effort ends and real focus begins. Most people never cross it. Third shift, make switching harder than staying. Not through willpower, through friction. Put your phone in another room, close extra tabs before you start. Remove the easy exits, because your environment decides your behavior before your discipline does. And one more thing most people never realize: don't end your work at a natural stopping point. End it in the middle, mid-sentence, mid-idea, mid-task. So when you come back, you're pulled forward instantly. You don't restart, you continue. Because the goal isn't to work more, it's to stay long enough for your effort to finally matter. If you keep following this pattern, you don't just lose time, you become someone who never sees things through. Not because you lack ability, but because your effort never lasts long enough to turn into anything real. And that slowly shapes how you see yourself. You stop trusting your focus. You stop believing in your consistency. You start expecting yourself to quit early. That expectation becomes your default. But when you change the pattern, something else starts to form. Not instantly, not dramatically, but quietly. You become someone who stays. Someone who doesn't rush to escape the moment things slow down. Someone who can sit with a task long enough for it to open up. And that changes everything. Because once you can stay, you can build. Once you can build, you can improve. And once you improve, results stop being random. They start becoming predictable. So the real shift isn't in what you do, it's in who you become while doing it. Someone who fills time or someone who moves forward. You don't need a new system. You don't need more motivation. You need a different standard. From now on, don't ask, did I stay busy today? Ask, what did I move forward? Pick one thing, not 5, not 3, one. Stay with it longer than you want to. Finish it in a way that leaves something real behind. Then repeat it tomorrow. That's it. Because your life doesn't change when you do more things. It changes when the right things start stacking. So stop filling your time. Stop chasing quick finishes and start building something that still exists when the day ends. That's how you move. And once you move, you don't go back.